When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
However, it's me, Vern. I know you're in there listening to the Gen X Grown Up podcast. Who? The Gen X Grown Up podcast, man. If you're going to listen, you should support them on Patreon. Do what? GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon. Show some support, man. They ain't here. I know they're not there, but you're listening to them. Come on, let me in. I want to be a fourth listener, too.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
Gen X Grown Up is a YouTube channel, website, and audio podcast you're listening to right now. All made for and by people who love exploring media, games, tech, and toys of yesterday and today through the eyes of Gen Xers who refuse to grow up.
Your dinner cannot just be French fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Welcome back, Gen X Grown Up podcast listeners, to this backtrack edition of the Gen X Grown Up podcast. I am John. Joining me, as always, of course, is Mo. Hey, man, how's it going?
Going great, man.
Would not be a show without George. Hey, George.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
In this episode, 40 years ago now, Whitney Houston released her debut album to introduce the world to one of the most legendary voices of all time. With chart-topping hits like Saving All My Love for You, How Will I Know, and of course, Greatest Love of All, this album wasn't just a success, it was a cultural moment. So in this episode, we walk through the album track by track and explore how Whitney's powerhouse vocals set the stage for a career that would change pop and R&B forever. And as a debut album, you just can't get much bigger than a debut album like this. I don't think it was her best album, but man, did it set the stage for what was to come. And as we do with our musical backtracks, we're going to walk through this album track by track, as I said, share our thoughts about it. Before we get into that, though, a little good business to take care of here at the top of the show, the fourth listener email. We have another fourth listener who's working his way through the back catalog, Jimmy B. He's been writing us regularly. We have quite a few emails you'll hear in coming weeks from him. But Jimmy's email he dropped us just the other day was After School TV. The topic of the email. Yeah.
That's a while back,
backtrack.
right?
That's right. Here's what Jimmy says. I have been binging your show now. I'm in February 2018 and just heard the February 2018. And I just heard the episode After School TV. I have a lot of favorite memories on this. We had here in Dallas, Channel 11. I walked to school 1.5 miles and I would run home every day to catch the shows on 11. This was my introduction to anime. They had Battle of the Planets and Star Blazers on at 3. Yep. And I loved those shows. Then after those, we would have the Banana Splits. Oh, that dumb show would come on. Then probably Gilligan's Island and some other show like the Brady Bunch or the Partridge Family. It sounds like an afternoon lineup. Perfect. Yep. Yeah, Jimmy. Then for the cherry on top, the next hour was either Wonder Woman or Buck Rogers.
Yes.
Channel 11 knew what they were doing. After that, the shows would get more adult, and then the one I remember the most was Adam 12.
Adam 12. Yep.
I still watch Adam 12, which is, by the way, a spinoff from Dragnet. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah.
It spun off for there, After School TV sparked all of these memories for Jimmy. We know you're working your way through the back catalog, Jimmy. Good luck. Got a ways to go. He says, look forward to finally catching up. Just a few more years to go, Jimmy.
We'll do our best to keep ahead of you.
Yeah, listen, if you catch us, then what? Then what do you do? You have to re-listen. Go back and start again. We appreciate that you dropped us a line. We're happy that we sparked those memories for you, Jimmy. Fourth listener, if you would like your email featured here on the show, it is drop dead easy. All you have to do is send an email to podcast@GenXGrownUp.com. We read every single one, and most of them, just like Jimmy's, will eventually make the show. All right, it is time to walk our way through Whitney Houston, the debut album by none other than Whitney Houston. We're going to get started right after this quick break.
Este episodio es presentado por Honda. Descubra la nueva Honda Passport Trail Sport Todoterreno. La Passport más todoterreno que Honda haya imaginado jamás. Esta Passport cuenta con mayor altura al suelo, barras de techo en todas sus versiones y neumáticas especialmente diseñados para cualquier terreno. Además, disfruta todos tus viajes con el control de clima de 3 zonas, techo panorámico y opciones como asientos delanteros con calefacción y ventilación. Conoce más en honda.com/passport.
You're listening to Gen X Grown Up. But if you have a friend who's not yet listening, why not? Tell them about us. They'll thank you later.
The greatest voice of all, the greatest collection ever offered, and now it can be all yours. Whitney Houston, the greatest hits. Available for the first time, the hottest history-making hits from the #1 best-selling female artist of all time, including 16 number ones. From the greatest love of all to I Will Always Love You. From I Believe in You and Me to It's Not Right, But It's Okay. Every #1 hit and more is included here. Whitney, the greatest hits. Over 2.5 hours of non-stop hits, hot remixes, and 4 new songs. This year's Grammy Award winner, Whitney Houston, is here with an album for all time that you must own.
It's not right, but it's okay. I'm gonna make it anyway.
The songs you know by heart by the artist the New York Times recently called the definitive pop soul singer of her generation. Whitney, the greatest hits, the greatest collection from the greatest voice of our time.
I alluded to, or maybe outright said at the beginning of the show, 40th anniversary of this album.
Wow.
40 years. Whitney Houston, her debut album, self-titled, dropped February 14th, 1985. See, I was a sophomore in high school, I guess. Mo was probably
I was a senior in high school.
Wrapping up high school. George was wrapping up middle school. Yeah. And this album, I think we all know this album. I'm sure we might listen to it, but nobody was surprised what's on this album. It was part of our youth growing up. And as I was prepping for it, you go back and look, and there are a huge number of re-releases and anniversary and deluxe editions and remasters of this album.
Oh, yeah.
And I said earlier, I'm not sure it's her best body of work, but it is such a watershed moment for her as an artist. I think it gets so much attention. And we'll talk a little bit more about as we go through and start walking through the tracks, how they have a variety of different origin stories, and maybe they're written for other artists and made their way to this album. It's really quite a story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She was born Whitney Elizabeth Houston, August 9th, 1963. And let me tell you, I mean, if there was ever a genetic whatever to make a singer, she had it. She began singing at the New Hope Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey as a child, and she was a background vocalist while in high school. But her mother, whose name is Sissy, was actually a Grammy-winning gospel singer. Her cousin was Diane Warwick. Darlene Love, who I don't know, not many people know who she is, but she was actually the wife in Lethal Weapon, Murtaugh's wife. But she was also like a Grammy-winning singer and performer. And they even knew, like through the gospel music scene, they knew Aretha Franklin was like her honorary aunt. Like she wasn't a blood relative, but she was with her like the entire time.
That's some royalty. Wow.
I mean, it's just crazy. Like how could she not be a great singer?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rolling Stone certainly agrees. In their 2023 list, they listed her as one of the 200 greatest singers of all time. I would probably put her in the top 5.
Yeah, I'm with you.
She's
Right up there.
one of those amazing voices to this day. I still remember Star Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl
my
after
God.
9/11.
Right.
Was
Oof.
arguably the greatest Star Spangled Banner ever sung. She's got some Guinness World Records to her name as well. Highest earning posthumous female celebrity.
Oh, that's too bad.
After her death, her assets amounted to about $250 million that she earned over a 25-year career. And she was one of the first Black women to ever appear on the cover of 17 after becoming a teen model in 1981. So even before this album was released, she was already in the zeitgeist a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she was gorgeous.
Yeah, she was part of pop culture and she was already in front of the public eye. And so that really served her well as she moved into being an artist like that, who I think she was kind of like music executives kind of found her and brought her to it. But she didn't it wasn't nepotism. It just wasn't her background, her family. She had some raw, amazing talent. She started her career doing background vocals. She got a lot of praise from that. And her early solo work went on to her first big success doing duets with Teddy Pendergrass and Jermaine Jackson.
The lesser known Jackson.
Yeah, right. And then on her own, she signed her first deal at 19 years old with Arista Records.
Ugh.
19. Can you imagine? Just got out of high school or just whatever she did, finished school, whatever her education. And I don't even know, I'm still a kid at 19. I can't imagine that kind of responsibility and that kind of weight, but I mean, she carried it. Her first two albums, including this one we're talking about this episode, Whitney Houston, 1985, and then her follow-up, just lopped off the Houston, Whitney in 1987, both reached number one. Her first two albums out of the gate, number one on the Billboard Top 200, and are still among the best-selling albums of all time. And in fact, she's the only artist to have 7 consecutive number one singles on the Billboard Hot 100.
Crazy.
Just no wonder she had such a huge earning potential that even posthumously she was still banking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and then she decided to branch out and started making some movies, some better than others, admittedly. But everyone knows The Bodyguard. I actually enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a really good movie. I thought she did a great job in it. And its soundtrack won the Grammy Award for the Album of the Year and remains the best-selling soundtrack album of all time.
Wow.
Still?
And of course, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And the lead single, I Will Always Love You, which actually was written by Dolly Parton.
And sung by Dolly Parton.
And she also does a beautiful version of it. That also won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year and became the best-selling female single in history at the time. I mean, she was just groomed for success and really took and just rocketed.
It's lightning kept striking. It's like she could do no wrong. Everything she did was a winner. I mean, I said maybe not every one of them, but damn near every one of them. You just heard the numbers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, and maybe it was because she got so young, I don't know, but she definitely made some bad choices. Let's just leave it at that, right?
Sure.
And so she wound up dying. She died on March 22nd in 2012. And they said the cause of death was a heart attack, likely due to her drug use, and she was 48 when she died. I mean, and that's it. I hate hearing these stories because all the stuff that we missed out on.
Right. The things she would have done between then and now, right? The intervening 13, 14 years or whatever. Yeah, we lost all of that.
Yeah, so it was a shame.
I mean, and, it's not just all the statistics about her that's impressive. This album in particular has a lot of interesting trivia behind it. It took a year and a half to get all the songs together for the album. Took her another 2 years to do the recording. Like John said, she signed her first contract at 19, took her several years to get the recording. It was ended up being released on February 14th, like we said, of 85. They were going to spend $200,000 to produce the album. It ended up costing $400,000.
Wow.
So they went double on their budget, but I'm sure they made a fair amount of that back.
Right. They made it back.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because it took so much longer than they expected, probably. You had to pay everybody all the, maybe.
Who knows? I mean, it's kind of like Hollywood math, right? Every time there's some accounting on a film, who knows how much stuff really costs, like $5 million for a golden hammer or whatever. But the album did hit the Billboard 200, like John said, and it was at the top for 14 weeks. Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, just crazy amount of stamina that album have. And, you're not going to see that kind of stuff in today's modern age because we don't do the same kind of releases
Not quite like
and
that.
everything.
No.
It's all
Yep.
streaming, this, that, or the
Time
other,
has
but
changed.
incredible accomplishments.
Yeah. And it wasn't just in the U.S., like around the world. It topped the charts you said in the U.S., George, and stayed there for a long time. Canada, Australia, Norway, Sweden, peaked at number 2 in the UK, Germany, and Switzerland. So it's not just a phenomenon
What's wrong with
in the
those
States.
guys?
Why number 2, guys? What are you doing? The album had 3 number 1 singles: Saving All My Love for You, How Will I Know, and The Greatest Love of All, which made it both the first debut album and the first album by a solo female artist to produce 3 number 1 singles in the United States.
That's craziness.
Just so many number 1s, so many just notable achievements and accomplishments by a young woman that was just fresh to the industry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was certified. I mean, I didn't know this was even a thing. It was certified diamond for having over 10 million units sold by 1999. 10 million. I mean, that was back when you bought albums, right?
Yeah.
And later was 14 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association in 2023. It just kept selling. It's just an amazing album. Just kept going. As we said before, it's the best-selling debut by a solo artist, as well as one of the best-selling albums of all time. It had sales of over 25 million copies worldwide. 25 million. I know I bought it at least twice.
Even if they sold those albums for $1 a piece, they made their money back.
No, that's right. You're right. $1
Right.
a piece.
No kidding. I know I bought it on cassette. I know that I had it on CD at least. That might be the last time that I bought it. But yeah, at least twice I bought it. Yeah. Sure enough. All right. Well, that sets the stage. So when we get back from this quick break, we're going to drop the needle on side 1. So kids' records used to have 2 sides, right? So we're doing that in 2 segments. We're going to go through side 1, 5 tracks per side. Going to go through all of these songs from Whitney Houston's debut album. Getting into that right after this.
Ever met a foundation that does it all? Say hi to NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. Makeup meets skincare in a bottle. It evens skin tone, blurs imperfections, and has a natural radiant finish. Plus, it's formulated with skincare ingredients to help strengthen your skin's barrier. With a newly expanded shade range of over 40 radiant shades to choose from and buildable all-day wear. NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. Find your perfect match.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai-iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Be sure to subscribe to or follow Gen X Grown Up wherever you listen. And while you're there, rate and review the show too. It helps more than you know.
November 12th, the next big event. You won't see it on any stage. You won't see it on tour. You'll only see it on HBO. Whitney, live. An event created just for HBO. The concert for a new South Africa. Whitney, Saturday, November 12th at 9 p.m. One voice, one concert, one place to see it. HBO. Simply the best.
All right, there's no better place to start on side 1 than with track number 1. This is one of the most melodic ballads in history, in my opinion. Whitney Houston's voice is unmatched, and given that this was the first introduction to her voice, I don't think we could have had a better one when it comes to You Give Good Love.
Yeah, just in the first few seconds, you just hear that that voice. Yeah. You're like, oh, this is what we're in for. You know, is this voice? This was written by a New York songwriter named Lala. Wrote it for Roberta Flack. Sent it to Roberta Flack, got frustrated waiting to hear back, so she performed it live for Houston and her producer. They said by the end of her demo, Houston was singing along with it. It was definitely going to be for her. And so after that, she just owned it.
Yeah, it was like definitely one of the, what does he call it? Like date songs, I guess you say. Even though if you listen to the words, you know, whatever. But, you know, listening to out with your girlfriend or whatever, this was a song that you definitely wanted to play.
Yeah, I mean, I was in middle school, and this was one of the songs. The whole album kind of has that vibe a little bit to it, but this was one of those songs that would bring out the romantic, like you know, like there's just the never-ending, like singing, you know, to yourself, hoping that the girl is going to hear you or something like that. I mean, or sing the song to you. It's just a beautiful song, and I really don't give a shit which Whitney Houston album we do. It's going to be the same comments every time. Like, we could just record one of us just saying the same thing over and over again. Greatest female singer of all time. That's it.
Yeah. Well, the whole album, as we go through this, it's about finding, getting, making, keeping, and losing love. Like these are love songs in one form or fashion as you go through these. This particular one was nominated for Grammy Awards in 2 categories: Best R&B Song and Best R&B Vocal Performance, Female. Whitney didn't win either of them. She lost to Aretha Franklin, who took both prizes for Freeway of Love.
All right. If you're going to lose to somebody.
If you're going to lose, I guess losing to Aretha, not so bad. But
not so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it stayed in the family. She was her honorary aunt. So.
There you go.
True. There you
That's
go.
right. There you go. Mo, you want to move us along to the next track on side 1?
Yeah, the next one, number 2 on side 1 was Thinking About You.
I'm just a fool to say. I keep thinking about you, baby. Oh, so tell me what you gonna do.
So this song, I like it. It was very poppy. It's
Very poppy. I like that feel. Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, that's what people, kind of the appeal was. It was very 80s, very poppy. It reached number 10 eventually, was the highest it ever got. But again, it spent something like 15 weeks on a chart. So definitely a solid song.
Sometimes I like trying to dig into the lyrics of these because I listened to all these songs growing up, especially in high school and college because it was big then. And so I like now preparing for this, I like read the lyrics and try to understand what it is. I know they're all love songs. This one, to me, I interpret as it's like the early stages of a relationship where there's like nothing you can think about except that object of your affection. She's obsessed, I've just been thinking about you and I can't get you off my mind. And that's all I can think about. That obsession, that early, the spark is just so hot, burns so brightly. And she does a great job with this pop kind of delivery that just kind of makes it this little dance song that's about that very thing.
Yeah, it actually did really well in the club mix versions and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. It reached number 24 on the dance mix album. So it was a super popular song.
Okay.
With that beat, I could see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. All right. So shall we move along? What's the next one? Track number 3. This interesting delivery with this. I think especially going through the first side of this, very different sorts of songs as we go through. We had the very melodic, we had the more poppy, and then we have this really interesting kind of staccato delivery on Someone for Me. Yeah, that just kind of that someone for me, that little chorus in there is just another very different delivery, another way that she uses that amazing voice in a way that's almost like an instrument sometimes and not, just not vocals. I hear this one and it's another kind of love song. This one is not already having love or wanting love. It's like she's sitting around the house, daydreaming about, well, I'd like to go out, maybe have some fun at a party. Maybe I'll meet that somebody special. I'd like a chance to go out and find love. And that's what she's saying here. And it delivers in such a way that you're like, yeah, maybe I'll do that. Maybe that sounds like fun.
This way, I went back and I looked at all the reviews, or I looked at a lot of the reviews of this album when it first came out, and they all pretty much said the same thing. They said most of these songs were very simple, melody-wise.
Sure, I'd agree.
They said that, but it was her voice that suddenly took this very simple song and just made it amazing. They said anybody else singing this, it would be a crappy album. But her singing it really just elevated it.
Whitney Houston is the definition of the phrase, she could sing the phone book and I'd buy it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like her in the female side, Freddie Mercury in the male side. Those two voices just, they ascend anything that you wrap around their tones. Like words, it doesn't matter. Let them sing. It's just a damn shame we lost her so early. Just like Freddie, we lost him early too.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least we got what we got.
Yeah, I feel that way about this album. I don't want to denigrate the album or say there's anything wrong with it. It's not my favorite Whitney Houston performance. It's not my favorite collection of songs. You said she could sing whatever, it would be great. If I'm in the mood to hear something Whitney Houston has done, I'll listen to some of her later work, because then you have better songwriting and that same voice that's just as powerful, if not more mature and more powerful, and has more experience and worldliness behind it. I think she only got better over time, except for a little dip in the middle maybe of her career, but if she came over that, better on the other side. And I think, look, they were looking for songs for this. One was Roberta Flack didn't want it. They shipped it to her kind of thing. Some of these were recorded elsewhere, and they ended up making for a great album, even though, as you said, Mo, no one thing here is really, I only have 2 songs I really seek out and listen to, but all of it is very listenable, even 40 years later, despite the simplicity. It's because of Houston. So let's move it right along then. We're on the back end of this first half. The next track, George, what do we got?
Yeah, so the next one is kind of in the same vein of like some of the Police's songs back in the day, where they would have lyrics that you may not have paid attention to when you were first listening to the song, but once you did, you were like, what the hell are they saying? Yeah. This one definitely has that kind of vibe to it. It's Saving All My Love for You. Now, this song, it's one of my favorites. It's the first #1 song on the album, at least in order of the tracks, not necessarily in order of release, because I don't remember which single got released first, but Saving All My Love for You was one of the #1s. John mentioned it earlier. It's a beautiful song, but one of the comments that I made when we're prepping and talking and listening and reminding ourselves of the songs, I'm like, she's basically just like stealing some other person's man at this point. She's saving her love for this guy, no matter, you've got your family and they need you there, but when you're ready, come to the hotel room and we'll get busy. That's kind of what the song is, but she sings it so beautifully with such precise melody. I don't care that she might be breaking up this family, to be honest with you. I mean, fuck it. I think she might deserve the guy.
You're right. It was indeed. It was the first of her 7 consecutive #1s. It also topped the R&B and adult contemporary charts. And it was her first #1 hit in the UK. So I'll cross there. And it's really, like, when I first listened to it, I thought, when I first listened closely to the lyrics, right, I'm like, oh, it's unrequited love. You've got your family, maybe. I wasn't thinking you're cheating, right? I'm like, oh, you had to go home for the holidays. Your family needs you kind of thing. Oh, no. No, it really is. In fact, it's a really sad song about this mistress singing about a love she can't have because he's already married and taken. And Houston's mom was not sure she wanted her daughter singing, a 19-year-old or 21, singing about adultery, because they came out of the church singing gospel. And I got to think maybe it was because it was delivered so beautifully that it's almost like a stealth cheating song. It's not really about the cheating. It's about, I'm not cheating, or I'm not cheating right now, even though I want to, kind of cheating. But it is so melodically beautiful. It's like her voice carries you through that. Like you said, it might as well be the phone book. It doesn't matter that it's kind of dark and sad, really.
Yeah.
Now, the next track, Mo, isn't so sad. It's a lot. Now the love is requited, right?
Yep. The next one, the last song on side 1 was Nobody Loves Me Like You Do with Jermaine Jackson.
Nobody loves me like you do.
So in my research for this one, this was funny. This song actually was first sang on the soap opera As the World Turns. By James Dunn. He was the one who wrote it. He actually performed it on the soap opera. But then Jermaine Jackson and then unknown Whitney Houston decided they would kind of do a cut of it themselves. And I never considered Jermaine Jackson to be the amazing vocalist personally. But yeah, he was
all right.
okay. He was okay. He was okay.
He's a Jackson. He came to a natural.
But singing with her, though, she just was such a professional, too. I think she was able to make her voice work with his just really, really well.
I don't know if it was even her professionalism that allowed that. I think it was just an innate ability that she had. She could do virtually anything with her voice just by instinct alone. It was like just started at such a young age with her in the church. And then, as she progressed up to being a background singer, like we talked about earlier, all of those qualities, singing in a church choir, being a background singer, that lends itself to you being able to marry yourself vocally with another person's voice, even in the moment on the fly. And She's just the greatest female singer of all. There's no way she couldn't have done it, and she did it probably better than most.
Yeah.
So you can almost follow this narrative through the album. You know, it's like, okay, I want someone for me and someone for you, and then by the time you get down here to the last track on side 1, I found them. So I found the love I wanted, I acquired them, and they're great. And everything about you, I was kind of, as I listened through the whole album as a single piece, you can kind of substitute the word sex for love anywhere you want. It's kind of suggested.
Yes.
You give good love, well, you give good sex, is what we're talking about. saving all my love for you? Well, yeah, because adultery. Nobody gives me sex like you do. And I even read a couple things that I was reading that there was some concern from her family because so much of this was kind of loaded language for sexual interaction, sexual engagement, sexual contact. But because it was sung so pure and so in this gospel voice, it ended up kind of almost, and Whitney Houston herself said in something I read that if you want to interpret it that way, that's not in what it's in my heart when I'm singing it. I'm singing just about love. You want it to be about sex? That's up to you. It's on you.
Yeah, especially with this first album, she still had that very church pure image.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you said teen model, absolutely drop dead gorgeous. But you hear it, and you look at the words, you know what it is. But when she sings it, my head doesn't go there. Like, that's not where my brain goes when I hear the song when she sings
it. You kind of have
of
to think about it, don't you?
Right.
You got to go, yeah.
You know, it just seems a lot more innocent.
Madonna had sung it.
Oh, yeah, totally different story.
She'd have just said sex. Saving all the sex for you, right? She wouldn't have.
Actually, I should probably use a different word.
Maybe so, yeah.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Love, exciting and new. Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever. It's a love.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships of Bermudan and British Registry.
Each episode of Gen X Grown Up has show notes loaded with links where you can learn more about our topics. And there's even more to see and hear over at GenXGrownUp.com.
AT&T True Voice. A Bell Labs breakthrough so advanced it's patented. One of 25,000 AT&T patents for technology. Some competitors say True Voice is no big deal, but 4 out of 5 of their own customers prefer it. Decide for yourself. Call now for a demonstration.
Voice. Just let me hear loud and clear.
And call now for a demonstration.
Voice.
We're moving along now to side 2 of the album, if you had the album, or track 6, if you had the CD, of which I'm sure I bought at least one of each at some point in the history of buying records in my past. But this one is another, it's a love song. So many of these, they're love songs. They're all love songs. This is How Will I Know? Now, this is another one. Didn't come straight to Whitney Houston. This was written for Janet Jackson.
Yeah, crazy.
Delivered to her. She passed on it because she was currently working on the album Control, and it just didn't fit with the vibe. That New Jack kind of vibe that she was working on at the time, just didn't fit. So passed it on, and it's a very innocent song, like trying to decide if the boy she likes will ever like her back. How will I know if he really cares about me? And I think it went really well with her wholesome image, especially that she had at this point early in her career, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think this really helped propel her and make her popular because it was like, I think her first big popular music video that she did was for this song.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically taking the wind out of my sails for the next segment because that was the thing that...
Oh, well, we can back that up. I can take that up.
No, it's
fine.
fine.
I have no problem with that. No.
We can bring it up like multiple times because it's Whitney Houston. You can just talk about her forever. You're right. The video is what I remember the most about this song, more than the song itself sometimes.
Really? Yeah. So remind me of the video. It's been a while since I've seen it. What was
so the
I need to
video
talk
was
more about
her
later.
in a gray dress with her hair in an afro frizz with little bows in each side
Bingo.
at the top.
Got it.
And then she's dancing around in a corridor with other dancers, and there's a whole bunch of like art on the glass walls that's kind of like just thrown and splashed up there like you might see on a tie-dye t-shirt kind of thing.
It's burned in my retinas now. As soon as you got to the frizzy hair and the bows, I'm like, yeah. I also learned, this is interesting, backing vocals on this song, Whitney's mother, Sissy Houston.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bringing the
support.
family in too. Yeah, right. This was a big hit. I didn't jot down where it hit, but I'm sure this was one of the singles, but this was everywhere. It had its own video and everything. And it's another pop song. It reminds me a lot of, what was it? Thinking About You on side one. It's a good dance song. It's a good pop hit. And it probably, I think my third favorite. I got to build a top 10 on this. They're all in my list of favorites.
Yeah, just quickly look it up. It was actually her second #1 hit was this one.
There you go. Yeah. Makes sense. All right. Well, let's move along from How Will I Know, George. What is next on side 2?
Yeah, song 7, side 2, or song 2, side 2. I don't know however you want to phrase it, but it's definitely going to take the speed a little bit down from that last one. This is a much slower song, All at Once.
And all my dreams were shattered all at once. Ever since I met you, you're
This song is one that I know a lot of people, and John, we talked about it during the break, they don't find this song as one of their favorites from the album. I'm not going to say it's my favorite from the album because I've kind of already alluded to which one is my favorite from the album, but it's definitely a really solid song, and I think this is the first time on the album that we hear her voice start to become slightly more adult. Like there's just a slight adult tone to the song. It's got a little bit more melancholy in it, I think, and I don't know why. It feels like a slight departure, even though it's on the same track having to do with love and romance and, matters of the heart, that kind of stuff. But it's just got that melancholy feel, which is appropriate for the lyrics. And I think it's a solid effort. I think had she recorded this 4 years later, it probably would have been a breakaway hit.
Yeah. I found it to be, it's a lost love is what it is. You're lamenting.
Yeah.
It's a cry in your pillow song is what it is.
Yeah.
My earth crashed around me. We talked about the simplicity of this album, and it's one of those things, like we all went through this at some point in our life. It's a song of losing young love, right? That other person is everything to you. And then when the breakup happens, like you see the walls closing in, you think you're never going to recover. And that's really like she sings in this about all at once, everything came crashing down, I'm paraphrasing, but all at once I lost everything I ever had, and will it ever be the same again? And it's a little like the lyrics and the songwriting feels a little immature and young to me, which is okay for her at this point in her career. But like an older, more experienced person doesn't have that same kind of crashing feeling in a breakup because you've had a few and you've lived through it a bit. And I think that's probably why it's, especially as I'm older, it's one of my least favorite on the album, which is not being too bad. It's still on this album, so it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was funny how this song actually did better overseas in Europe than it did in the United States.
Huh.
And one of the reasons they think it was like this was not released as a single in the United States. And for kids out there who don't know how records were promoted back then, back in the day before the album came out, they would release certain songs as singles
ahead of the album,
album, just to kind of raise, get everyone excited. And when the whole album came out, you're like, oh my god! But they did release it as a single in Europe. So over in Europe, it actually was like one of her big hits over in Europe. Whereas in the United States, it kind of did
It's great that these songs had a life not just in the U.S. but overseas, and I think it's important because all of these songs are they need to have a life because they represent Whitney Houston. His first debut album, like we talked about, but they all represent a time in her life. It's certainly important that they got the recognition they deserve, even if it wasn't in the U.S. But Mo, what about this next song? Did it get as much recognition as the last one, or was this one kind of meh?
Not really. The next song, number 8 on side 2 or number 3 on side 2. I'm confused like George. I'm not sure exactly how to say these things. But the song was Take Good Care of My Heart, another duet with Jermaine Jackson. So, this song is about first love, people falling hard for each other, all that stuff. So it's very young. To be honest, this is actually one of my least favorite. I mean, they're all great songs, but this is one of my least favorite on this side. Just because I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Maybe it's Jermaine Jackson actually didn't do it for me, quite honestly.
His fault.
But it's another case of them this was not a single in the United States. So it was a song that they wondered, it was again, not giving a lot of promotion, all that stuff. And again, I guess whoever promoted the album in the United States didn't think it would help sales, so it didn't happen.
Yeah. It is. You said about first love, and it's these two have fallen hard for one another. And the nice imagery that they put in there is you're the one that's opened up my heart, but now I'm vulnerable because you're the one who can break my heart, because now you have the control or the ability to do this. And this is the second that you mentioned, the second duet with Jermaine Jackson. I read that Whitney was having an affair with Jermaine Jackson around the time of the recording of this album. Jermaine Jackson was married to Hazel Gordy, son of Berry Gordy, the head of the studio.
Boy, that shoot yourself in the foot.
Right?
Not really. It's his son. Who the fuck knows Berry Gordy's son? Nobody gives a shit about him. It's Whitney Houston. Come on.
I'm talking about Jermaine Jackson's career. I'm saying he's shooting himself in the foot.
Well, did he have a career after the 5 in this album?
I don't think so.
Maybe not.
I don't think it was because of that, though.
Maybe not. Maybe that's what it was. But yeah, it is that young love thing, but it also, now that I know about that affair, I'm like, oh, what about that cheating song from side 1? Maybe that kind of plays into this too. I don't know.
Well, thankfully we get to get rid of the Jermaine Jackson duets at this point. So, and we move off of a meh song to John. You may have gotten lucky with the rotation here and gotten what is arguably the most famous song from the album and one of the most famous from her career.
Yeah. I mean, there's no point in trying to conceal what might it be, what might be the great album. Right. So we are talking about the huge power ballad, Greatest Love of All.
I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadows. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe, no matter.
I talked about how this whole album was about finding and keeping and losing and making love and all that kind of stuff. This song, for me, is a departure from that because it's not really about relationship love. It is. It even says the greatest love of all is not all those other things, right? It's about learning to love yourself, teach the children. It's this kumbaya kind of, and the sentiment in it is amazing. The lyrics in it are evocative of what they're talking about. It's so good and so well done that it almost doesn't fit on this album for me. It is so much better for me, above and beyond any other track on this album. Is it just me, or do you guys feel something like that?
I think it is an incredible song. However, I don't know that it's the greatest version of this song. I know sacrilege, right?
Maybe.
But I kind of got to go with Sexual Chocolate on this one.
Oh my God.
I mean, really, are you going to have a better version than Sexual Chocolate's version of
That
Greatest
boy's
Love
good.
of All?
Oh my God. The funny thing about this song is that actually I'd heard this song before her version because my dad was a big George Benson fan. So, in 77, George Benson recorded the song and it went number 2 in the charts. It did really well. It was a very popular song, but her version was just so much better. I mean,
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I mean, George, because George, he's no slouch, you know. I mean, he's way better than Jermaine Jackson. Let's start that. I mean, and he said I loved his version. My dad loved his version. Then he heard her version. He was like, "Oh, screw that."
Oh well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And we were also talking a little bit in the break. When actually the breaks we actually record and we give it up to our patrons as bonus content. So if you want to hear these conversations we're talking about, you can pop over there. But we were talking a little bit about how this is one of those songs that is played at graduations and proms, and it just everybody loved it, right? For different reasons. Some people listened to it and didn't even listen to the lyrics and know what it's talking about. Self-love. It's just the greatest love of all, and that could be your boyfriend or girlfriend. Because often we didn't listen to the lyrics that deep to know.
Yeah, sure.
But then the more you listen to it, the more you're like, man, this fits for higher education. You know, teach the children they're our future, let them lead the way. All that is in there, and it's like, oh, you're tearing up a little bit because the children are their future. Do it for the kids, you know, kind of thing. And it made its way to all of those events because it, unlike other songs on this album, like I said, it doesn't quite fit to me because those others could be misinterpreted or interpreted rightfully as lustful or about sex or things. And this is just absolutely squeaky clean, as just pure and honest as you can get.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. And let me tell you, as much as I dislike my song because Jermaine Jackson, the last song on this album has another duet, but man, what a difference.
Yeah, you know, as a matter of fact, that was exactly the intro I was going to lead in with there. So thanks for burying my lead, Mo. Appreciate that shit.
Wow.
Stealing all your thunder in this episode.
I'll just go back over and say, you know, while the last song was the final number one single from this album, this next song was arguably, well, not arguably, was the better duet of all the duets on the album.
Absolutely.
And that's Hold Me along with Teddy Pendergrass.
Ooh, Teddy.
Hold me in your arms tonight and make it last forever.
I mean, again, it's Whitney Houston, greatest female vocalist of all time. Fuck you, Mariah. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. But she gets finally a partner on this album, and you kind of got to wonder, like, did they go through the other songs and then, you know, whatever happened in Motown, Berry Gordy, whoever produced this album, or somebody said, let's give her a real singer to partner with and see what she can do. And Teddy Pendergrass, John, you mentioned at one point when we were talking about just some of her sets and everything, this might have happened after he had that horrible accident where he was paralyzed.
I think so, yeah.
You can't tell from his voice, though. Holy shit.
Oh, no. He's still got the
man
pipes.
is just fucking butter. He's just so smooth.
And he'd been out of the game for a little bit, but he still had those pipes. Yeah. It was, I think I read this was her first recording, actually, of that 2.5 years or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
Her first recording on her new Arista contract was with Teddy frickin' Pendergrass. They released it all the way back, as Mo said, with singles, May of 1984, and that gave her first taste of success. It became a top 5 R&B hit on that advanced single.
Wow.
And it's a lovemaking song. It's this, she's singing of her attraction, honest and pure nature of this guy. Want to fill the night with pleasure. Hold me, touch me, make me your woman. I mean, it's Teddy and a lovemaking song. You can't go wrong.
Yeah. If there's something bad about this song that I have to say is that this song was actually released before the album.
Right.
And because it was released before the album, she was ineligible for New Artist.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
How does that work?
Because she was named on another album
in '84
before this one came out.
Oh, wait, this was on a different album.
Yes,
before this album.
Yeah, it's Teddy Pendergrass's 8th album, Love Language. This was on that album,
right? And she was credited on it. And because she was credited on it, she could not win for Best New Artist.
Oh,
fucking award ceremony bullshit rules.
Technicality.
People. Whitney Houston is not the greatest brand new artist of '85.
I know.
You kiss my ass.
It's bullshit for sure. But technical, she didn't win.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. This is a good album. We talk about all of its little shortcomings, but aside from that, Houston elevates it in a way that launched her career as an amazing vocalist and rock, R&B, everything. So, as we often do in these musical backtracks, we get back from this quick break. We're going to each champion a track. You might have already figured out what our tracks are if you listen to the last couple of segments, which one we think is our favorite on the album. We'll see who you agree with. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at AmericanExpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
If you're a die-hard Gen X grown-up, you can pledge your support by clicking join on YouTube or by becoming a patron at GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon.
Just for fun. This is the one. Diet Coke, yeah. Just for satisfaction. Just for you. Just for the light of it. The light of it. Yes, the light of it. Just for the taste of it. Diet Coke, yeah.
All right, we're back from that quick break, and as promised, we have each selected our favorite track from the album. Why it's our favorite track remains to be seen. You probably might already know if you've been listening throughout this, but Mo, let's start with you. Let's make it official. Champion your favorite track from Whitney Houston's debut album.
For me, I guess I went with a song that when I first heard it, just kind of took me back to 85, like just gave me the most memories of back of that time. And that was You Give Good Love, the first song on the album.
Okay.
Maybe it's because, my brother had this album. I think, did I have it some? Probably. And so, albums back in the day, when you play it, it's the first song it's going to play every single time. And to me, it's just the memories of it. Honestly, like I don't necessarily think it's the best song on the album, but for me, it has the most positive memories for me and the most feeling when I hear it.
Okay. Valid pick. There are no wrong answers, I don't think. So let's move along. George, I think you pretty tipped your hand pretty early on. What's your favorite from this album?
Yeah, I think this next song, is the best upbeat song on the album.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Won't argue that.
B, it's the best music video from the album.
Can't argue that one.
And C, it's probably the reason that Warren stole this album to give to his girlfriend in the movie Empire Records. And that is the song How Will I Know?
Yeah.
It's an incredible song. It's a lot of fun. That music video, we discussed it a little bit so that John could remember. And all you have to do is give a couple of descriptives of the visuals of either how she was dressed or her hair, or maybe the set itself. But it's a very simplistic music video. It's really just a camera following her around, kind of Bobby Brown style, which, Orange has another link later on in her life, unfortunately. But I really think this song, it just kind of makes me happy every time I hear it. It's not that she's like singing it in like, how will I know? Like she's nervous or has anxiety or is worried about it. It's just like, hey, mom, dad, how will I know when I'm in love? Like a little, 5-year-old asking a very innocent question about love as she might know it at that point. But then there's just enough of that, like she's 19, 20, 21 when she's recording this, that made me feel like something in high school. Cause I was, like we said, I was, when this album came out, I was finishing up middle school. When it got really popular, I was in high school. So I'm right at that age when all of those questions and feelings are super, super important to you, whether you're a boy or a girl, whether you're hetero or homo, it doesn't matter. All of the songs in this album have that feel to it. And this song in particular just kind of gives you the right to ask that question.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys, like you mentioned earlier, John, that there's like multiple versions of this album have come out. Have you guys, I don't know if you heard the deluxe anniversary edition, but do yourself a favor.
Okay.
They have a version of this song where she sings it a cappella.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
interesting. There's a reason to go check it out.
Listening to just for that. Because just hearing her just belt this song out with no instrumentation at all. It's just her singing.
Right.
Holy crap.
Right. And this is way before auto-tune. This is natural talent, right?
Before auto-tune.
Yeah. Fuck auto-tune. No, this is, don't get me wrong. T-Pain is from my hometown and I love the guy, but can't hold a candle to Whitney. I'm sorry. And he would agree, I think.
Oh, man.
So Mo's given his champion track. I've given mine. John, you are legally obligated to select the next track as your favorite based on the song in the album.
Going to pick?
And we talked about this 2 weeks ago when we were planning to record, right? Hey, here's the one I want to pick, but it's the one everybody wants to pick. Is anybody dying to talk about it? And my pick, of course, is Greatest Love of All. And it's for all the reasons that I kind of talked about in the last segment when we were listening to it. And that was, it feels more elevated, more mature, more world-wise than all of the other songs on this album. And not too long ago, I already liked this song, but I super like it after I learned more about its origin. Now, Mo, you mentioned a second ago that George Benson recorded this back in 1977. It was written by a songwriting duo named Massey and Creed. They wrote it. George Benson performed it. It was for the soundtrack of the film biography of Muhammad Ali called The Greatest. If you take this song and listen to it in context to the career of Muhammad Ali, I just got chills thinking about it. It's even more powerful. Whether I fail or I succeed, at least I lived as I believed. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. It was powerful as Whitney Houston being an up-and-coming artist. When I think about how it was originally written to represent the life and the ethos and the philosophy of Muhammad Ali as he was working his way up through the ranks, it adds a layer of how much I love this song on top of how much I already liked it as being what I think is the best song on the album in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah. As you run it through your head, you're like, oh yeah.
And it is the only song on the album to get the sexual chocolate treatment. So that in and of itself,
oh my God,
makes it the greatest song on the album.
And I'll also bring this up that if you do get that deluxe anniversary edition, they have a version of her singing it live at Radio City Music Hall.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That it's one of these things you go back in a Wayback Machine and go see a concert, in the 80s. I would have loved to seen her perform live.
That'd be one to see. Yeah. No kidding. Look, we've run through the album. We've gone through our favorites. It may not be the best Whitney Houston album, but by gosh, I've said it several times, it is the album that launched the career of arguably the best female vocalist that we have ever had on the planet. We could argue that all day, and you could pick somebody else. George already was dissing Mariah Carey. That's okay.
You could pick whoever you want.
Right.
It's okay to be wrong.
It's okay to be wrong. I know you were going to say that.
Greatest female vocalist of all time.
So, fourth listener, we hope you enjoyed this walk through Whitney Houston, Whitney's debut album. Drop us an email, podcast@GenXGrownUp. Let us know your memories of this song. Maybe you had a first dance or a first love or something, or your first breakup to this. I'm sure a lot of people did. It was well requested, I'm sure, on the radio. Before we jump out of this episode, I do want to take a second toward the end here to thank two more super generous people who have become patrons, financial supporters of Gen X Grown Up, literally making this episode and future ones possible. I want to thank you, Darren H. and Renee W. Both of these fine folks went over to patreon.com/GenXGrownUp, opened up their wallets and their hearts and said, we know you give it away for free, guys. We want to support what you do. Darren, Renee, thank you so much for your support. You're joining a roster of other amazing people that are generous and take care of us. Make sure we keep doing what we do. That then is going to wrap it up for this backtrack edition of the Gen X Grown Up podcast. Don't worry, we have another backtrack coming in 2 weeks, regular edition of the show next week. Until then, I am John. George, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yes, sir.
Mo, I appreciate you.
Always fun, man.
Fourth listener, you we appreciate most of all, though. We can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
Gen X Grown Up is a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.
No more watching shows till sunrise. Unacceptable for grown-ups. Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown up.
Of course, is Mo. Hey, man, how's it going?
Going great, man.
Hey, threw me for a loop. Go great, man.
You asked me a question.
Would not be it. I know you did.
Pit Pass Moto, sponsored by Moto America, is the show that keeps you up to speed on the latest in motorcycling and brings the biggest names in motorcycle racing right to you. From candid interviews with the top names in racing to providing insights into the trends and trendsetters driving the motorcycle industry, we have you covered. New episodes are available every Thursday at pitpassmoto.com and on your favorite podcast app. Ride on!
Coming up on 5 Minute News, I'm Anthony Davis. You might think it's partisan because maybe it's critical of one side or the other, but it's not, it's just the truth. And I think that's also something that's kind of unusual for Americans listening to the radio or to podcasts, because the news landscape in the States has been so partisan for so many decades. So 5 Minute News is verified, truthful, independent, unbiased, and essential world news daily.